Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday night and it is time for a bit of Bustalgia. Time to go back into the archives and the Celtic history. And tonight, I'm going back further than I ever have so far in this series, going back to 1987-88. I was born in 85, so tonight, it's a bit of an education for me, yes. I've seen all the highlights, all the archive footage and whatnot, read many a story about this, but in terms of actual memories, I don't have many at all. But the man joining me tonight, interestingly enough, just like a bus, Johnny, we hadn't done a show together in a while, and now we've done two in the space of a week. So yeah, just like a bus, two have come along at once. But yes, Johnny, I know you're excited about this because you've been asking me. You asked me about this initially about a year ago. So we've been trying very hard to make this work, and we've finally got our schedules to match up, and here we are, mate. It is the Centenary double season. It's going to be a good one, mate.
I'm certainly hoping so. And yeah, like you said, I first suggested this to you, like I say, it must have been about a year ago, not long after you started this wonderful journey of Bustalgia that you've taken the whole bus on over the last 12 months or so. And like I said, it just seems ridiculous that it's taken this long for us to get things to match up where we were both available at the same time to be able to do it. And I'm looking forward to this one. Knocked off the cobwebs from the old scrapbooks and talked in it. And I'm not going to pretend I remember everything about that Centenary season off the top of my head because it's 36 years ago now when I was a young lad.
I'm 38 and I was born in 85. So yeah.
So looking forward to it though. Yeah, it's been fun having a look back through some of the YouTube videos and that, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, as indeed. A few people already in the chat are coming in, talking about their fond memories, favourite seasons and whatnot. And yeah, it's an absolutely magical one, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. But before I do all that, of course, folks, I'll just remind everybody, just all that good stuff helps out algorithm CSC, helps out the bus massively. So obviously hit that like button. Obviously gets a wee bit more traction, gets us in more suggested videos of people who like Celtic podcasts on YouTube. It's more likely that the bus will pop up on the recommended videos. Obviously hit that subscribe button if you've not done so yet. We've obviously passed the 4,250 mark. 4,500 is the next target. So obviously hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And remember to hit the bell notification, and then you'll be reminded when the bus goes live. Of course, get involved in our comments tonight, as people are already doing. As I say, I want to hear lots of memories about this season. It's all new to me because I haven't got any vivid memories of it. I was only a mere Wayne at that point. 2 years old. Yeah, 1985 I was born. So yeah, 2 at this point, 1987, 88. And obviously share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform is your choice. And of course, head over to pipesports.com. Use the code BUS1888. Get yourself 12.5% off your order. And with all of that good stuff done, Johnny, I guess we can get into it. So as I normally do on Bustalgia, the sort of first part of it is what was going on heading into this season, what's going on in the world. So yeah, the world in 1987. So I've never went this far back in Bustalgia. So this is quite a time to land in. We did do a show way back in the early part of Bustalgia, concentrating on the early 90s at Celtic, which was that was a tough one. But yeah, this is the 1980s we're going back to now. So what's going on in the world? So I say Margaret Thatcher, she was the Prime Minister at this point. Ronald Reagan was the US President. The Berlin Wall was still standing, and the Cold War was still ongoing, as I normally do as well. What was going on with the world of football? Let's get a picture of who was the big winners now. Normally, when I do this bit, it's usually a lot of the same teams that come up because, in modern day football, football success goes in cycles. Quite a few different names on this list. The champions of England in 1987, Everton, their 9th title, and to this date, their final title. Champions in Scotland, as we will be discussed about, Rangers had won the title from us in 1987 after we'd dramatically won it in 1986 with Albert Kidd Day. But yeah, Rangers, with a bit of financial muscle, shall we say, wrestled it back off of us in 1987. In Italy, Diego Armando Maradona's Napoli won their first ever Serie A title after he'd left Barcelona. Went to Napoli, which was a bit of a surprise choice, but Napoli had never ever won Serie A. Diego led them to the title in 1987. In Spain, it was Real Madrid, and in Germany, it was Bayern Munich, so not much has changed there. In France, it was Bordeaux. In Portugal, it was Benfica, and in the Netherlands, a Guus Hiddink managed and Marco van Basten led PSV Eindhoven were the champions in the Eredivisie. The European Cup champions in 1987 was a bit of a surprise for me when I looked this up. It was Porto. Porto beat Bayern Munich in the final. I wasn't expecting to see that when I looked it up because I know that PSV Eindhoven won a European Cup about this time, but they're the next year, they're in 1988. But the reigning champions in 1987 were Porto. The UEFA Cup was Gothenburg against Dundee United. Do you remember that one, Johnny?
I do, yeah. Vaguely. I remember their run. I'm sure they beat Barcelona on the way, didn't they?
Yes, they did beat Barcelona. Jim McLean's Dundee United. Yep.
With the Kevin Gallagher, did he mean it or did he not? Goal,
Yes, I've seen it. And
a lot of debate at the time. Did he mean that one or not? And, it didn't really matter at the end of the day. It got them the result against Barcelona, which
it did.
I mean, that Dundee United, they were, as we'll see later on in the show, they were a quality team.
Yes,
Dundee United were a quality team, Dundee United.
They were indeed. It was, they did get to the final, but they lost out to Gothenburg in the end over 2 legs. It was 3-2 to the Swedish side. And in the Cup Winners' Cup, Ajax defeated East German side, not West Germany, East German side, Lokomotiv Leipzig, not Red Bull Leipzig. That's not the same team, but they beat them 1-0 in a final held in Athens. In terms of world transfers, where was that at this point in the 1980s? Because we look at nowadays with world transfers and the fees that are paid, but the big movers in that summer, to give you a picture of what was going on, was Enzo Schifo traded Anderlecht for Inter Milan. Ruud Gullit went from PSV Eindhoven to AC Milan, and Rudi Voller headed from Werder Bremen to Roma. So Italian football was, of course, the place to be in the 1980s. And Ruud Gullit would go on and win the Ballon d'Or in 1987. Pop culture-wise, what was going on musically? My God. Recently I've been doing, whenever I do this bit on Bustalgia, I'm into the 2000s and that, and I'm just like, I don't know who half these people are, but my God, 1987. So such acts as Rick Astley, Whitney Houston, Tapau, Bananarama, Pet Shop Boys, the Bee Gees, Boy George, Madonna, Michael Jackson, all have massive chart success in 1987. And number one in the chart when the season kicked off was La Bamba by Los Lobos. I believe the story of Richie Valens. That's indeed. And at the cinema in 1987, a few classics in here. Full Metal Jacket was released, Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Untouchables, Lethal Weapon, James Bond, The Living Daylights, Police Academy 4, Mannequin, Platoon, The Fly, and Crocodile Dundee. There's a song on that soundtrack that you may know very well. That'll live it up, obviously. It's doing the rounds these days. We like to live it up, certainly, over our enemy across the city. But now that I've wrapped up all the news and pop culture, what's going on in 1987, let's talk about Celtic and going into this season. Because the 1980s, Johnny, quite a mad decade for Scottish football. Probably the last decade that it was properly competitive, because Aberdeen are the team of the decades in the 1980s. They won 3 Scottish Premier Division titles. They won 4 Scottish Cups, a League Cup, and a European Cup Winners' Cup, and the Super Cup. Celtic would win 4 titles, 4 Scottish Cups and 1 League Cup. Rangers won 2 titles, 1 Scottish Cup and 6 League Cups. And even Dundee United got on the action, winning a Premier Division title. They won 2 League Cups and they got to UEFA Cup final along the way in the 1980s. Bonkers to think, like nowadays, for like young fans as well, that this was actually a point in time. That was the mixture that you had through that entire decade. It was just like, it's safe to say when the season kicked off, it was anybody's title, essentially, wasn't it? Far from what it is now.
Oh, it definitely was. It was, and it was, it was good as well because obviously as a Celtic supporter who couldn't get to Celtic Park due to my work. This was back in the day when I worked in a small family business, a butcher's in Markinch, and this is back in the days when we had half-day Wednesdays, half-day closing on a Wednesday and a Saturday. I could only get to games in Dundee or Edinburgh. So sometimes I remember going to Dundee one night. It wasn't even a Celtic game. It was Dundee United Aberdeen. And I can't remember if it was a semi-final or whether it was actually a final. For some reason, they decided to play in Dundee. But it was a great night. And this is before season, all ticket games. You used to just rock up, go into the game, and me and my mate, we went across on the train, and Dundee beat Aberdeen that night. I can't remember what the score was, but I remember Dundee beat Aberdeen, and we were racing to try and get back to the train station to get the last train back over to Kirkcaldy's or Marc Cairney's it was, and getting on the train with the skin of our teeth. But that was a good night. And but like I said, it wasn't very much more. It was a competition, you know. In fact, probably for a couple of years, it was more likely to be Dundee United or Aberdeen than Celtic or Rangers, to be fair.
Did they not get nicknamed the New Forum or something
they
like that
did,
at that point?
They had that for a while, yeah. But to be fair, you know, there were two quality teams, as I said earlier on. Dundee United, when we talk about the Scottish Cup final later on, they were a quality team. And to be fair, so were Aberdeen with some brilliant players.
Yeah, because at this point in time, I think Fergie's just left to go to Man United. I think it was 86 he left, so Alex Ferguson's away at this point. But the success still didn't stop. They still picked up some more cups in the sort of late 80s and into the early 90s as well. But yeah, that Alex Ferguson Man United team, so when you look at it, the amount of trophies that they picked up in the first half of that decade, they've certainly were the team to beat. As I said earlier on, the 1986 league in particular is one that I've actually been asked by somebody in the chat, keeps on saying, why don't you do the 85-86 season? That's the one when Albert Kidd helps us to the title on the last day with Dundee beating Hearts, and we had to beat St Mirren by 3 goals. And yeah, man, never know. Maybe that will be one further down the pipeline. But yeah, that was another bonkers.
Definitely worth a go, that one, yeah.
It's definitely is. That comeback story is incredible. But yeah, let's have a wee look then at what was going on then with Celtic heading into this pre-season. Obviously, the biggest story then is there's a manager change, Johnny. Davy Hay is gone and Billy McNeill has returned to the job. Seems to be a thing with Celtic about managers going away and coming back. But yeah, Billy McNeill is left now. You'd said to me, we'll talk about this on Friday night as we were off air, just sort of like, you know, give me a few stories ahead of this. Like, Davy Hay got a bit of a raw deal, it seems, from the Celtic board. There we go. And nothing's changed there. In terms of transfers, nothing's changed much there. But yeah, it seems that they didn't allow him to spend that much. But then when Billy McNeill came in, the spending seemed to ramp up by our standards. But yeah, obviously he'd lost the title to Rangers in 1987. Obviously looking at the reasons why Rangers won it and the financial clout that they had, it's kind of understandable. But yeah, you'll say something about Davy Hay kind of got a bit of a hard time from them in the end.
I think he did. If I remember rightly, and I did read a little bit up online today, he only made one major signing as the Celtic manager, and that was the man who shall not be named.
Yeah.
Shall we say? If anybody's got any doubts, you know, there was 30 pieces of silver might have been traded at one point to give him his name. And he was the only signer he was actually allowed to make. And I'm sure there was a quote, and I don't know what they meant by it exactly. It was all, if he wants to buy any new players, he's going to have to fund it himself. Now, I don't know whether the Celtic board meant Davy Hay was going to have to pay for it himself or whether he was going to have to sell and then buy. But he wasn't allowed to buy. To give you a little example, I was having a little look back today online, and the 86-87 season, we made 2 signings. One was Anton Rogan, the other one was Alan McKnight, and they both came from Lisbon Distillery for what is put down as nominal fee.
Nominal fee,
so
yes.
The idea of the kind of money that he was allowed to spend until, ironically, in that close season before the Centenary year, he was allowed to buy Mick McCarthy for £500,000. Never played a game under David Hay, obviously, because he was sacked. And I'm not sure whether it was a few days after the signing or whether it was a couple of weeks, but it was very shortly after signing McCarthy that David Hay was given his jaws, and the smell that was put there, he was treated badly. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But then again, if a Celtic board could treat Jock Stein badly, then they're going to treat anybody badly, aren't they? You know, so
yeah, that's true.
I remember that one, Monty. Yes.
Yeah, 5-1 Charlie Nichols Arsenal pre-season. I think as well, and obviously again, this way before the times of the internet and stuff. But what was the sort of fan mood when Billy McNeill came back? Because obviously we've seen in recent years when a manager has come back, it's usually met with a bit of disdain and a bit of apathy. Neil Lennon coming back in 2019 wasn't exactly celebrated. As we saw, Brendan Rodgers, given the circumstances of why he left in 2019 and then to come back this summer, many fans were like, no, can't do it. What was the feeling with Billy McNeill come back? To say it was different times, different football environment back then. Because he left in 1981, 82, early 80s anyway, and it was at Man City he went down to. He was definitely down to England anyway to manage.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think he went to Man City first and then Aston Villa, I think. If I remember rightly, it was definitely he was definitely manager of both them teams. Personally, I was quite happy when Billy came back. Again, he was another one. He wasn't exactly treated greatly either at the end of his first tenure at Celtic Park either. Again,
Yep.
So there we go. That was Jock.
There's a running theme here.
Davy Hay. 3 managers in a row, all pretty much shit on from a great height, if you like.
Yeah.
So I'd be a liar if I said one way, but I remember distinctly how it went. But I was quite happy for Bill McNeill to come back, and I think most people were, to be fair.
Yeah. I think a man of that stature with what he'd done at the club, everyone's going to be well on board with it because, he did have when he took over from Jock Stein, obviously continued that winning legacy for the most part and still picked up a lot of trophies as manager. So, it was probably a safe option, essentially. You knew what they were getting with him, after Davy Hay was let go. And, in the end, as we find out this coming season, it certainly paid off. But the environment's very different now with Billy McNeill coming back because the Rangers team that he's coming back to face in terms of the opposition, keep in mind to say Aberdeen and Dundee United are still lurking there as threats as well. And Hearts, who very nearly won the title. And in fact, when I looked at the league table for this coming season, Hearts actually finished second, which I was like, I did not expect to see that when I looked at the league table. But obviously, with Rangers, the climate's changed very much. Obviously, they sold up to David Murray in 1986, came in, pumped millions into the club, and they've got the pool of Graham Souness as well as the manager now. So they won the title in 86, 87. Obviously, when you look at their spending, naturally, it was just a case that there was no transfer windows as well. They could just go and spend willy-nilly. And obviously, a bit of a loophole was exploited with the English clubs being banned from European football after the Heysel disaster in 1985. Naturally, English players who had aspirations to play in Europe couldn't do it in England. Just come up the road to get paid lots of money as well. Why not? So that was a massive thing that they were pulling on there. And obviously they had Chris Woods, they had Terry Butcher, Mark Walters, Trevor Francis, Ray Wilkins, Graham Roberts in their English contingent, as well as the sort of Scottish contingent of Ali McCoist, Richard Gough, Ian Durrant, Davy Cooper, Derek Ferguson, and they also had Jimmy Nicholl in their ranks as well. A pretty strong team for Celtic to be coming up against this season. So Billy certainly had his work cut out for him coming back to manage Celtic, looking at that, didn't he?
He certainly did. And because I think the other thing that helped Rangers on that front, you talked about obviously the fact that the English clubs were now banned from Europe. But the wage levels weren't ridiculously stupid as they are nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, they were paid better money than what they get in comparison to Scotland and England nowadays. But it was nothing like the vast difference that it was then. So that obviously helped because, Rangers weren't having to go. It wasn't like everybody else was paying maybe a couple of £1,000 a week and Rangers going up to 60 grand a week to pay somebody. There wasn't that big a disparity between the wages. So that brought them in. And so that made things a lot easier for them as well. So, they took advantage of that. And Celtic, I almost said we tried, but we didn't really when you look at the players that we brought in and where we went shopping to replace the players that we lost before the Centenary season came in. We can talk about the players we lost and the players we brought in to replace them. I mean, the players we lost.
No, it's ridiculous. I think you told me this on Friday night. I was like, I can't believe the turnaround. This is a huge overhaul to the squad. For say Davy Provan retiring, Danny McGrain goes to Hamilton Accies, Murdo McLeod goes to Borussia Dortmund, who we then play this coming season. Bo Johnston went to Nantes, Alan McInally to Aston Villa, Brian McClare to Man United, and Peter Latchford as well. He sought pastures new and went to Clyde. That's a hell of a lot of players going out there, Johnny.
It was, it was a shocking amount of players. And then when you look at the players we brought in to replace them now, if for the younger ones that are watching us tonight, if you were to think that if you were to say we lost Kyogo, Tati, and any other when you're in McGregor, for example, and we replaced them with two guys from the Scottish Premiership and somebody from Sheffield Wednesday, who I've got at the time got no idea what league they were playing in at the time, we'd have been less than pleased, shall we say?
Yeah, I would say so.
Because the players we brought in to replace those guys we lost was Andy Walker from Motherwell, Chris Morris from Sheffield Wednesday, Billy Stark from Aberdeen, a 31-year-old Billy Stark.
Yeah.
That was in the close season. In the November, we added Joe Miller to that, which came as a bit of a surprise because certain Alec Ferguson was really, really pissed off that Celtic nipped in there and bought him. I think we paid something like 650,000 for him.
Right.
And then we bought Frank McAvenny. Again, that was once the season had started. I can't remember what we paid for McAvenny, somewhere in the region, probably £1 million, something like that, I think. Might have been a bit less, I'm not sure. But that was the sort of sum total of our spending and replacing players. So if you looked at that in the cold light of day before the season started, we thought, I'm really not fancying this at all.
Oh, definitely not. You look at who they're up against. It's
the firepower that we took out of that team.
Yep.
And a vital part of the midfield engine in Murdo McLeod. And they all went away for nothing. You know, they all went on freedom of contract.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, not much put into the biscuit tin then with that one. There could be much there. But yeah, it was a massive turnaround. So I was quite shocked at the sort of revolving door that was going on. So you look at the names, some of the guys that have left. As much as I know he's a band name, him who will not be mentioned, but he who will not be mentioned did have a very good partnership up front with Brian McClare, and Alan Mcginlay'S was a good striker in his own right. That's 3 strikers in one window they've lost, or one summer they've lost, because there's no transfer windows per se. But yeah, it's quite incredible when you see it. And yeah, Andy Walker, I believe, was he only in his teenage at that point?
Oh, he was only a young lad, yeah. I mean, he may well have still been in his late teens and early 20s at most, I think.
It's a bit unproven.
Yeah, who'd have thought a team having 3 strikers, eh?
I know, there's a novel concept, Aye, because I would take a guess, right? This is probably, being the late 80s, it's probably a good old-fashioned 4-4-2. So I'd fathom a guess if I was saying what a standard Celtic 11 would be this season, with Bonner in goal, Rogan and Morris at fullback, McCarthy and Aitken centre-back. You're probably looking at Burns and Miller, Grant, McStay in the midfield, and then Walker and McAvenny up front would probably be the sort of strongest 11 that Celtic would field that season, I would guess. That would probably be the crux of it, because it's way before the days of the massive squads we see now, and players are numbered 1 to 11, good old-fashioned 1 to 11. Yeah. But yeah, that's probably like the sort of strongest Celtic team that they could have fielded that season. But also guys in the bigs with Mark McGee.
What did you say the midfield was, do you reckon?
I would say Grant and McStay in the middle, Joe Miller and Burns on the wings. Because Burns played a lot, didn't he?
I'm just trying to think, because Billy Stark played an awful lot.
Billy Stark as well, yeah.
He did play a lot for us. Yeah, so it's probably something along those, but you take one out, put Stark in, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, so they did have some guys obviously waiting in the wings that could rotate in, like Mark McGee, who would play a certain part as well this season. He obviously popped up with a very vital goal, which we will get onto in due course when we're talking about the events of the season. But yeah, let's get into it then. The 87-88 Centenary season then. So Celtic do actually start the season winning the first 3 games in a row before losing to Dunfermline. Quite surprisingly, yeah, they actually get an early season defeat to Dunfermline, but it's one of those seasons as well where there's a Celtic Rangers game early in the calendar, because we play them in fixture number 4. Late August, sort of early September time, and it's at Celtic Park. And not just a very early Celtic Rangers game on the calendar, but there was an early goal in this one, Johnny, to decide it. Billy Stark scores after just 4 minutes, and that's all she wrote in terms of the goals in the game. Celtic do enough to go on and win it. But you were obviously at this game. You were mentioning that you very nearly missed the goal, I think you said to me when we were talking on Friday. It was, I mean, to be fair, it's only 4 minutes into the game, so it's quite understandable that you could have nearly missed it if you're just getting in. Because I say, that's the old days of the old-fashioned turnstiles and seating all around the stadium. And I'd imagine it was quite congested trying to get in. But yeah, Billy Stark, who, as you say, 31-year-old signed from Aberdeen. Maybe not a signing that would have grabbed much people's imagination, but that's how you endear yourself right away to the Celtic faithful, scoring a winner in a Celtic Rangers game.
Oh, certainly is. If there's one way to say hello to everybody, that's it, isn't it? But yeah, like you said there, I did nearly miss the goal, and that was my first Rangers Celtic game. I'd never been to an Old Firm game before that, and the reason I nearly missed it is getting late out the pub, which became a bit of a regular theme with the lad I used to go to football in the supporters bus. We used to go to the pub. We used to like a bet on the horses, and he'd always have a bet on. And say, right, come on, I have to see. I said, Tam, come on, we need to get in. Games are going to start in 20 minutes. So yeah, get in. Managed to get in there, and only just got into the. I was in the Celtic end, traditional Celtic end for that. Just got in time to basically see the move. We missed the kickoff, see the first couple of minutes, and then the goal, and you just thought. It was just bedlam.
Yeah, nice finish as well. Felt him just on the edge of the area. It was like cross came in.
He took it well. It was Anton Rogan put the ball across from the wing, and I don't know whether I can't even think who it was in the middle, whether a deliberate step over, whether he missed it, whatever, I can't remember. And it just landed at Stark's foot, and he just stuck it away brilliantly. And
that was all she wrote. That was all
you don't say hello to your new fans in any better fashion than scoring what turned out to be the winning goal.
Yeah,
that wasn't the end of the headlines. In that game either. By the way, was it?
Another massive flashpoint later in the game. One, Graham Souness saw red. Am I right in saying that this is? I'm getting maybe them mixed up, but I'm sure there's not a game around about this era as well where there was a Rangers player sent off and he kicked the door in at Celtic Park. Maybe it's Butcher, I'm thinking of, getting sent off, but maybe it is this the soonest one, because there is a story about a door getting kicked off its hinges when a Rangers player trudged up the tunnel after a defeat or a red card. But either way, Graham Souness lunges in and he gets his marching orders, the player manager at Rangers. I'm sure that one went down well in the stands at Celtic Park.
Oh yeah, we loved it. But that was the second time Souness had been sent off. If I remember rightly, he got sent off on his Old Firm debut for trying to rearrange George McCluskey's kneecap.
Jesus.
Probably obviously the season before that. But what you're talking about with Butcher, now I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to say it was what game it was, but what was good about it was actually live on the telly.
There we go. 1990 Scottish Cup tie. I knew there was one at Celtic Park where a Rangers player took a door off the hinges, but okay.
Philip Neal was actually being interviewed at the time, and all of a sudden the door burst open. And, Terry Butcher went walking past, and then of course it came out later on that he'd actually, I think he either took the door off its hinges and broke the frame or whatever like that. But yeah, so they were, they could be quite tempestuous, shall we say, events. But, like I said, Billy Stark and that quite what's the word I'm looking for? Eventful Old Firm debut. And being involved in two major sort of flashpoints. But yeah, it was after that game, because I will admit, as I said earlier on, I didn't hold out much hope of how the season was going to go. But after winning 4 out of the first 5 games and beating Rangers, then you start to think, it just might be, we're looking all right here.
Well, I noticed from looking at the league table on Wikipedia, this was a season when there was 12 teams in the league like there is now, but there was no daft splits after 33 games. Played each other 4 times, so there's a long, long way to go in this season. 44 league fixtures you'd have to play at this point in time in 87, 88. Because I was looking at the fixture list, and I was going, this fixture list is going a lot longer than usual. And then I looked at the league table at the bottom, and I was like, that's why it's 44 games in the end.
And you've also got to remember, back then it was still the 2 points.
2 points for a win as well, yeah.
So a 7-point lead, and when you were watching one of the things when it talks about a 7-point lead, well, that's quite a significant lead because it's 2 points for a win, not the 3 points. It's not the. So a lot of changes in the last 36 years.
It is a whole new world when you hear stuff like that. Like, wow, 2 points for a win. God, someone in the 90s, I think it changed to 3 points for a win, but you said both mind reading all that stuff. But of course, we move on to the next meeting against Rangers, and this is the one. This is the one to get the popcorn out for. This is the game that many fans remember on both sides of the divide. Because we head to Ibrox in October. It's been a bit tit for tat so far in the league. A few drop points from both teams here and there, but it's not much between them. But yeah, we head to there in October, and early on in the game, there's a bit of handbags down at the Celtic end, down at the Broomloan end, and it's Frank McGinlay and Chris Woods both get their marching orders. Now, of course, this is also in a generation where substitute benches only populate about 9 players as we have nowadays. So Rangers didn't have a sub goalkeeper. I'm assuming it must have just been 2 outfield players or something like that. But yeah, Chris Woods is sent off, which leaves Rangers in a bit of a predicament. They've got to put an outfield player in goal. And Graham Roberts, who would become known as the conductor after this for his actions in the game, he took over in goal. And Celtic do get themselves into a 2-goal lead. It's Andy Walker and Peter Grant score. Peter Grant blessed himself as well in front of the Celtic fans as he celebrates. But yes, sensationally as well, later in the game, while we're still 2-0 up, Rangers go down to 9 men. Rangers go down to 9 men. Could you even imagine that nowadays? Wow, when was the last time that happened? Might be 1987 was the last time it happened. Didn't 9 men? Jeez, oh. But yeah, Terry Butcher gets his marching orders for a second yellow card. His second one, he absolutely assaults McKnight in the Celtic goal, going up for a free kick. But yes, somehow, and here's my question to you, Joy, how did we not win this game? 2-0 up, an outfielder in goal, and we somehow ended up drawing it 2-2? How on earth did we not put them away? Mental.
We could sit and talk about this until Celtic's second centenary year and not figure out how we didn't win that game. Like you said, before I go on about that, when you asked what was the last time that Rangers had 2 players sent off,
players sent off in the one game
will remind me or confirm, but the game that became known as the St. Patrick's Day Massacre, I think that might have.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
We won. What was the score? There was at least 2 Rangers players sent off.
Well, there goes Stephen Murray saying they went down to 8 men in that game. I think that's Jerry Craney scores in the game, I'm pretty sure, in that one.
Honestly, I can't remember. I was at that game. We're skipping forward ahead of a year or 2 now, actually. But Terry Hillett got sent off, and Mark Cairney got sent off. And I can't remember who else got sent off, I'm being honest, but I was sure there was at least 3. 3 sent off. I can't think who the other one was. But so that was the answer to that question. But to get back to the game we were talking about, like you said, handbags in the Rangers penalty box. Really nothing in it. I mean, if you watch it back on YouTube now, you just think there's nothing in it. When McAvenny runs up and they sort of a slight coming together. It's not even a coming together before, but arms start to flail and Woods grabs McAvenny in the throat.
Yeah.
And gives a bit of a push away.
Yep.
And then Terry Butcher comes in as the peacemaker.
Yeah.
I've never seen a peacemaker come in and push both hands fully on the chest and push them away. And then that Graham Roberts, he decides he's going to get involved as well. And I think, because when McAvenny goes down, he's holding his face. And when I'm watching it back, I'm thinking, why is he holding his face? But I think it was more Roberts came in and maybe gave him a shove in the face or whatever. But anyway, so as everybody knows, Woods and McAvenny both get the marching orders. Terry Butcher gets booked. Then Terry Butcher gets himself sent off with a stupid collision with Alan McKnight. And that was another thing that surprised me because I didn't really remember this until I was watching the videos back. Alan McKnight played quite a few of those games against Rangers that season, you know.
When I was looking on Wikipedia, it's got all the stats of who played that season. McKnight played quite a lot of games. Yeah.
So so he got himself sent off, and how he didn't win, like I said, how he didn't win that game. To be honest with you, even after it, it felt to me like a defeat. You know, we'd grabbed a draw from not the jaws of victory, but we pulled it back down the throat of victory. You know, it was done. Well, you know, we're actually into the last minute and just think, right, just keep your heads, lads. We're up against 9 men, all right. We've only got 10, but we're still got that man advantage. You know, we don't have to do anything stupid. And if I remember rightly, Rogan got done twice, if you like. He got beat for pace, ball crossed in, cleared out down towards the corner flag. But again, Rogan got beat by, I think it was Durant, actually, wasn't it? Was it Durant? And he crossed it over, and it just a bit of a what was it? Arthur Montford used to call it
a stramash,
and just landed at Goff's feet, and he put the ball in the net, and absolutely devastated.
Yeah,
devastated at that, you know, and it felt like a defeat. And the only consolation I could take after it was we didn't lose any ground. They didn't gain anything on us.
That's right.
And that's the only consolation you could take. Of course, there was more headlines about it.
Yeah, this went to the courts. Yeah,
oh, it did, yeah. Went to the courts, and just think I said to you on Friday, Friday night when I was chatting to you, you know, Frank McAvenny was found to be the fine, upstanding member of the community.
Yes,
that
indeed.
We all knew he is. Was found not guilty. Roberts was found not proven. And
that was him giving all of that in front of the Copeland Road end. Yep.
Yeah.
The conductor. Yes. Aye. As Frank McAvenny says, there was a show the BBC used to do called That Was the Team That Was, and the episode on the 87-88 Celtic team, Frank McAvenny features heavily in that one. And he says he just has a laugh about it and says they couldn't beat us on the park and they couldn't beat us off the park neither that season because obviously he went to the courts. And yeah, he was found not guilty in the end, so he had a good laugh about that one. But yeah, it was I say it was quite a when you look at the way it all sparked off initially, it's quite mad that it escalated to the level it did, just from a bit of handbag. See, the ball rolls through to Chris Woods, McAvenny goes through to get it, there's a bit of shoving, and for it to go all the way to the courts, I mean, look at the stuff that happened as well in 2011 with Lennon and McCoist and what was said, and the SNP getting involved and bringing in like antisocial behaviour at football acts and stuff like that, and it's just like sometimes honestly it's just too much at times. It's like it's not that bad. Like, I don't know why it never caused like a full scale riot. It never set off like thousands of fans fighting each other in the stadium and stuff like that. It's like, come on, it was just a bit of handbags, but it led to all sorts of trouble in the courts, all these hearings and whatnot. But in the end, McAvenny says they couldn't beat us there neither. So it was very much set the tone.
Yeah.
But then we move on though, because after that we actually lose a game to Dundee United not long after this, but then go on an amazing 26 game unbeaten run, which obviously puts us in a position to win the title. But in amongst there, we have got another 2 meetings against the old enemy, and of course there's a traditional New Year game, and we're back at Celtic Park for this one. And this game's always remembered for a bit of Paul McStay magic in the middle of the park to set up the first goal. Absolutely brilliant with pirouette in the middle. He gets the ball laid off to him by Andy Walker. There's a Rangers player bearing down on, but he does this sort of Cruyff-esque turn and plays a brilliant first-time pass because he just looks up and threads a brilliant through ball to Chris Morris, who's bombing down that wing. An overlapping fullback in 1988. There you go. Ahead of his time. And puts us a great ball across. And Frank McAvenny's there at the back post. Goal poacher extraordinaire to just tap it in just for half-time. But yeah, again, that's a guy we've not really touched on yet. But Paul McStay, is there anything that we can't say about him? Because I feel like, you know, what more can you say about the guy? He's just unbelievable. And yeah, that wee bit of skill to set up that goal initially just summed him up, didn't it?
Oh, it was possibly his finest season for us, possibly. I mean, like this Stevie Kenny saying that McStay pass. I mean, it was the way he got the ball and he turned and he was heading one way, and then he just, as you described it, a pirouette, and it was that good. There was 2 Rangers players had to stand in the queue to get the turnstiles to get a ticket to get back in.
Yes,
because they had no idea where he'd gone, and the pass to Chris Morris was stunning.
Yeah.
We talked sometimes about Rio Hatate and his ability in passing. Well, nothing compared to Paul McStay's ability, to be fair. And the ball to Chris Morris, one touch from Chris Morris, and one touch from Marc Cairney and the ball's in the back of the net. And just to nip back quickly, Chris Morris, the £100,000 buy from Sheffield Wednesday, who nobody had ever heard of.
Yep.
Now, I don't even know where McNeil knew Morris from. I think I did read somewhere he'd seen him playing when he was manager either at Sheffield Wednesday at Man City or Aston Villa. And he'd seen Morris playing either for Sheffield Wednesday or even possibly the reserve team at Sheffield Wednesday. And he remembered him from then and decided to go and buy him. And he was, along with Billy Stark, one of the best signings that McNeil made.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've seen a fullback who could cross a ball the way Chris Morris could. I mean, his crossing of a ball was phenomenal. I mean, he was a rare breed. How many times have you seen a fullback either on the left or the right get to the byline and then the cross is a bit like Didier Agat or Tyson Maeda?
Yeah.
To bring it up to modern times. But Chris Morris put in so many
good crosses,
fantastic crosses. It was phenomenal. But so Paul McStay in that game, superb performance, and not just for that pass.
Yeah, he
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's again. Well, obviously he's got his part to play as well.
In shocking weather conditions as well, it has to be said.
Yeah, when I was watching the highs, but again, it is the New Year game, so it is in the dead of winter, January 1st or whatever they were playing it. So it looked a bit of a cabbage patch at times. There was a lot of mud there. But yeah, the ball still travels really smoothly. That pass, absolutely brilliant. See, McAvenny's there at the back post to sniff out the chance. And McAvenny scores a second one as well, a header from a set piece late on in the game. Just whipped into the box. He gets a clean header on it and puts it up into the corner. We end up going on to win 2-0. But of course, the final meeting against Rangers that
was another Chris Morris cross for that goal, by the way, wasn't it?
For that free kick, yes, it was. Aye, so there you go. Two goals, and 2 goals McAvenny, 2 assists. Aye, from Chris Morris. But the final one, and a guy we were just talking about, McStay, he would have his triumphant moment in this fixture. And I've said before, I brought this, in fact, I've used it tonight on the thumbnail as the main picture, because to me, it is my favourite Celtic-related picture. It's just the look on Paul McStay's face just captures all the emotion of what it is to score in this fixture against them. To me, it just sums up. You just look at it and go, they talk about how a picture says 1,000 words, and it's every word that's getting said in that picture is basically yas, essentially, because he's absolutely loving life. He scores an absolutely brilliant volley. Because we go to Ibrox and I say March, we're pretty much bearing down in the title. It's a game that Rangers need to win while we can still draw it, maybe even lose it, and we're still quite a bit ahead because this is in the midst of this 26-game unbeaten run, as I was saying, Johnny. So we're pulling away. But yeah, just for good measure, we go and beat them as well at Ibrox. But Paul McStay opens the scoring with an absolutely sublime volley. Just on the edge of the area. It just forced him perfectly. And he hits it with his left foot, which of course would be deemed his weaker foot. Hits absolutely perfectly down at the Celtic end. And yeah, the celebrations, I say the picture captures it perfectly. We've even still got a little bit of the main stand at Ibrox. There was an enclosure that the Celtic end used to, Celtic fans, loads of Celtic fans, that was even more than just the Broomloan end. It's like we even got wee bits of the main stand and I think the Govan stand. But this picture's just absolutely perfectly taken. The fans behind him, just the bedlam. I say the look on his face, just the sheer emotion and relief. And it's like, that's why I love that picture. Just everything about it is what it's all about, to be a Celtic player and to score in that fixture. But that goal is top draw. I mean, again, what can you not say, about that goal? Absolutely superb from McStay.
Oh, it was a fantastic goal, and it was. It was a top-class goalkeeper. Let's face it, at the end of the day, it was a top-class goalkeeper who put it past. It wasn't, it was just, everything about it was perfect. Just the connection, the positioning of it, the placement of it, it was just a brilliant goal. Remember they screaming against Iceland? No, it's still a friendly, but still a goal. Yeah.
A goal.
Yeah.
Aye, it was indeed.
But yeah, it was superb goal. I mean, like I said, there's nothing you can add to that. It was just brilliant, mate.
I know. I say his left foot as well was just deemed as his weaker one, but did he have a weak foot really? But the second goal Andy Walker scores, I don't think he knows much about it. It's at a corner and it's like, come on, who wins the header? But I think he's just standing in the perfect position for it to deflect off him into the net. But hey, they all count at the end of the day. But that put us 2-0 up in the game. But Yeah, Andy
No,
Walker.
that put us back in front.
Rangers get equalised. Sorry, I thought we were 2-0 up and
Yeah,
Rangers got a consolation.
Sorry. Bartland, was it Bartland his name was? Yeah, a Danish lad. He scored, in fairness, a fairly decent goal to make it 1 each, and then that one there with
Andy Walker.
Like you said, it just hit Walker and went in like he didn't know anything. He didn't know anything. Well, he didn't know anything about it. It was Jan Bartram. That's it. Yeah,
that's the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I say, he's got to be in the right place to score it. But yeah, he had a hell of a season though, didn't he? I say at the start of the season, you're looking at it, sort of unproven striker in his teens coming in to replace the goals that, between McInally, Johnston and McClare that you're losing. But Andy Walker had a hell of a first season at Celtic when you look at it, and that goal ends up being hugely vital as well along the way.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was he had a fantastic signing. When you consider, like I said, a young kid, I'm not even sure how old he was, but a young kid, we signed him from Motherwell. He'd obviously had a decent time at Motherwell. It's what brought him to our attention. But he definitely exceeded our wildest dreams, if you like.
Charles Smith trying to say it was Anton Rogan's header. Monty's saying Tommy Burns' corner and Anton Rogan's head on Andy Walker just standing in the right place at the right time. There you go.
Basically hit him on the chest and
love it when a plan comes together. There you go.
Perfect move. Made McStay's goal look a bit feeble, really, when you think about it, didn't it?
Although it's not like I was saying, VAR be claiming Walker handed it these days. They probably would, by the way. Yeah. The way VAR looks at everything nowadays, it wouldn't bloody surprise me. But yeah, that win, obviously. And by the way, that full game is actually uploaded on YouTube. The Scott Sport broadcast is actually up there. I've actually watched that a few times. Every so often I'll go back and watch the full game. They've got all the build-up and everything with Arthur Montford. They've got this revolutionary new feature, right? And again, this is a time capsule, right? 1988, revolutionary new feature. They had helicopters following the buses to the stadium. There you go. They basically picked up with they were leaving from the hotels, and then they're like coming up the M77 or whatever, and the helicopters following. They thought this was like a pure revolutionary feature, but that was 1988 for you. There you go. Oh, we've got helicopters following the buses all the way to the stadium, and we'll keep you up to date every minute. So you don't really need to keep us up to date with how they're getting on coming up the M77. We don't really need to know that, but they were that chuffed with that new feature telling us all about it. But the whole thing is uploaded on YouTube. I'd say it's up there, and I've watched it a few times just to relive that fantastic McStay goal. Absolutely brilliant. But of course, that has now cleared the way, John. As I say, we won a 26-game unbeaten run. Now we've played Rangers 4 times. We've went undefeated against them in all the fixtures. And yeah, the coast is now clear, and Celtic would clinch the title. They would have one more hiccup just prior to clinching the title. They would lose to Hearts, so the undefeated run would stop there, but it wasn't enough to stop them overall. And they would clinch it in a very famous game against Dundee at Celtic Park. My first question to you, Johnny, because I know you were at it, you've got a lot to say about it. I believe the official number of how many were in the stadium is a bit fudged, to say the least, because whatever is officially reported is definitely not what was in the stadium that day.
No, I'll tell you what I would compare it to. You know, when we get predictions of how many Celtic supporters were in Seville?
Mm-hmm.
Anything from 80,000 to 100,000, 110,000, whatever.
Yep.
It was like that at the Dundee Celtic game that day. Honestly, they reckon that the official capacity, the official attendance at Celtic Rangers games that season was, let's just have a quick look, something like 60,000, yeah? The official attendance capacity crowd. Mm-hmm. Well, there was more than that there that day, let me tell you. You could not move. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was in there well early, because I'm going to be honest with you, we all knew the title was going to get won that day. Mm-hmm. And it was like Christmas Eve. The night before, couldn't sleep for the excitement of going to the game tomorrow. We're going to win the title in that centenary year. Nobody ever thought for a minute at the start of the season that was going to be what was going to be happening. So, got the bus. I was on the Celtic supporters bus that I used to go on at the time. And when we got off the bus, I said to my mate, and I didn't really go into it, but my mate we always had to go to the pub, and I just sit at the tab. I'm not going to the fucking pub. We're going in. You can go to the pub if you want. I'm going in now. I was standing there. I was waiting. When the doors opened, I was in. I must have been in there about an hour and a half before kickoff. Easy.
Yeah.
And, the crowd was decent attendance as the game kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the game went on, more and more people getting in. And if you have a look on the old televisions, I was looking at today, they had at the traditional Rangers end, where it was the big space, segregated space,
the
terracing. Well, that was empty. And then it goes round, and you can see later on they started to fill that up because there was that many people coming in.
Yeah.
They were in there. They were over the barriers behind the goals. They put up temporary fencing to try and keep people, to let people come over the barriers but stay away from the pitch. It was just mental. I mean, you could pick any of those things you put along the bottom of the line there.
Yeah.
72,000, 90,000. It could have been anywhere in between that. Honestly, it was brilliant. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was, it was manic as well,
I mean, it's obviously given the time when this happened, 1988, obviously a year later in England, obviously an overcrowded stadium would result in disaster. But up here, we didn't have the hooligan problem. Down in England, they'd put a lot of pens at the front of stands, and that's what led to Hillsborough. But when you look at it, when you think of the number of fans that got into Celtic Park that day, it's a good thing that we weren't in that position where there was like fences along the front of a lot of the stands, because it sounds like it was random. It was actually, see, when I think about it, the only thing I can relate it to in my sort of lifetime that I remember watching was the Stopping the 10 season for Celtic when they'd done it in 98. People were saying that, in fact, see if you go back and watch the footage when Bratback scores the winning goal, when the ball comes down the right hand side, Tom Boyd plays out, I think it's McNamara, crosses it. You can see there's so many people on like the stairs as well, like whatever the capacity was of Celtic Park at that point, because it's not finished at this stage. There was definitely a lot more people in the stadium that day than what should have been, but it's just what you think. People just want to be there and just witness it, because the Dundee game is obviously, we've all remembered as well, because being the Centenary season, Happy Birthday Celtic, a rousing rendition, to say the least, of a happy birthday getting sung at a football game. Don't see that too often, do you?
No. The first time, I think the first time I actually remember it was on the 2nd of January in the Rangers game.
Because it would have been going in 1988. That's right.
I'm pretty sure that was probably the first time I can think about it. But so it was then, and it was just quite surreal. Like, you don't expect to hear that at a football game now. But the crowd that day was just the whole day was just fantastic. It was. Yeah. I've got no idea what time I got home that night, because the crowd obviously jumping ahead. I don't know how much you want to talk about the actual game there, Phil, but after the game, a lot of the crowd came on. Yeah. A lot of the crowd weren't happy about it. Some of them might have gone on if they'd been able to get there, but it was just that packed. It took about 25 minutes to clear them off, 30 minutes to get them off the park, so that the players could come back out, have their little moment with us, and then they all climbed up on the, I don't know, it was the director's box or wherever it was. They were stood on this ledge, and all getting the photographs taken, and it was just a brilliant game, brilliant. No, it wasn't a bad game, to be fair.
3-0 they won in the end. 3-0 on the day.
Sorry,
it was 3-0 on the day, wasn't it? They beat Dundee.
I think 3-0. Yeah. Walker scored 2. Chris Morris scored.
Morris getting a goal as well. There you go.
Yeah, actually, I think that was his. If I remember right, I think that was his second goal for Celtic. And his first one being against Dundee as well. So I don't know what Dundee had done to upset him,
There you go.
But I'm sure that was his second goal. And Andy Walker scored 2 quick goals, 2 goals within a couple of minutes to settle the nerves.
Yeah, that was.
Shall we say?
The title was in the bag then at that point, and we go on, we win it, but we're not happy there, because let's make it a double. Why not make it a double for 1988? Because apparently as well, no team in there, any team that's made it to 100 years I've never actually won a double apart from Celtic. This is one of the things that's, but it might have changed now, because when I heard that fact years ago, say it was years ago, there could have been another team within that time that's done it. But at that point in time, Celtic would become the only team to win a league and domestic cup double in their centenary season. Because, yeah, in terms of the cup competitions, early in the season, wasn't that great? We got knocked out of the League Cup by Aberdeen, and we got knocked out of Europe at the very first hurdle by Murdo McLeod's Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, he came back to haunt it. Well, not necessarily him, but obviously he was in that Dortmund team that knocked us out. Yeah, Europe, and at that time you couldn't. We're talking about current day Celtic can't get by Europe after Christmas, and it's like, yeah, this is when the UEFA Cup was straight knockouts. So I mean, you're getting knocked out in pretty much August or September at that point in time. You know, the kids have only just gone back to school when you're getting knocked out of Europe, as it turns out. But yeah, Dortmund put us out of that one. So we're knocked out of the League Cup by Aberdeen. But yeah, the Scottish Cup still's got a strong affinity with it. And of course, we powered through in this one. So our run to the final was we beat Stranraer, we beat Hibs, we beat Partick Thistle. But then two memorable fixtures awaited. A semi-final against Hearts, who, as I say, would actually finish second that season. A team that I've not really mentioned, and I've been running through some of the highlights of the season. But yeah, we would come up against them. And we would be losing 1-0 for quite a while in this game, wouldn't we, Johnny?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think when Hearts actually took the lead in that game. Was it just at the start of the second half?
It might very well be. I can double check that for you, but yeah, they were obviously winning.
I'm sure it was 0-0 at half time, and Hearts scored. I can't remember when it was they scored, but we were. It was getting to twitchy bomb time, shall we say, towards the end before we managed to get back in.
Yep.
I was at the game as well. I didn't get lifted over though. I paid my £3 to get in.
£3. Didn't you send me the picture of the ticket earlier on?
It was £3 to get in the semi-final, and it was £4 to get in the final.
Jesus, man, the faces are going back to that as well. Totally different one.
Don't know how much money I was earning back then, but you know, but yeah, when you look at it, you think £4 to get in the Scottish Cup final. But anyway, yeah, but yeah, we were. And it was a massive crowd again that day. Somebody just put it on there. I've seen that. It was a massive crowd. Yeah, I was in the traditional Celtic end, and I always used to like to stay up near the back.
Yeah,
at the top of the terracing. Well, there's a lot of people like to go down further down, but I used to think, no, I prefer being up back. I think you got a better view. But I was sort of up the back, over towards the left-hand side. The right-hand side of the terracing, sort of looking diagonal across towards the main stand, if you like.
Yeah, I get what you are. Yep.
I used to like that area there whenever we went to Hampden, and it was. Yeah, I think we were sort of beginning to think maybe it's going to stop here, like, you know, not like the Billy Connolly joke where you say, "There's only 2 minutes to go, we've got plenty of time." But then, as it turned out, we did have plenty of time.
We did, yeah. Mark McGee brace, was it? He scored both of them. He scored the winner, definitely. I know that. Was it both he got, though?
Try to remember the goals now, which ones it was, what game it was, because so jumping ahead too far, the cup final was very similar as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a very late winner Mark in that one as well.
What was the song we used to sing about him? He was fat, he's round, and he's worth £1 million, like, you know?
Mark McGee. Yep, I'll just double check you and get there.
And became, because did he come as a sub that day?
He was wearing number 12 on his shorts.
He came on as a sub, and he scored, so they just sent us all into Bedlam, because we hadn't actually won because obviously
Walker scored the winner. McGee got the equaliser, and it's Andy Walker that scores the winner. But McGee's definitely come on as a subs. He's got number 12 on his shorts, definitely.
Yeah, because that's one when Henry Smith comes out, trying to catch the ball, drops it. I don't know if it landed directly at McGee's feet or whether it was somebody else, and it kind of bounced to McGee. McGee turned, and I didn't realise that he was actually capable of turning like that. Yeah, just balled through and into the net, and then Walker banged in the winner. And honestly, the place just went mental.
Oh, aye. Yeah, we're always going on that season, and just the sort of the magic in the air to do that. I mean, it might be around about this time. I'm sure the interview is from this season where Billy McNeill talks about there's a real fairy tale about this club. And when you see things like that in the Centenary season, they're 1-0 down in the semi-final for the Scottish Cup. It looks like it's, they're not going to pick up no double this season. But then that happens. And of course, it didn't end there because they obviously got the Scottish Cup final playing that Dundee United team. One of the teams of the 80s, Jim McLean's Dundee United. And it's Kevin Gallagher, I believe, that puts Dundee United ahead in the game. So we're losing again. But yeah, it's a Frank McAvenny double that wins it this time. Again, Celtic just refusing to lose on this day. And McAvenny scores about 15 minutes to go to get equaliser. And then, right at the death, in the 90th minute, up pops Frank McAvenny again to win it 2-1. And yes, Celtic go on and win the double. I take it you were at that one as well, Johnny?
I was at that one. I was in the same place on the terracing as well.
Yep.
That was another great day. And I was watching the videos today, having a bit of a look at it, and you could see the crowd, and I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, I was in amongst that lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolute. I mean, there was no room to move. If you look at the footage or the photographs of it, and you just look and you think, how the hell did we all get in there like that? And when there was a goal scored, and the way we just, you just think they just wouldn't allow it today.
Yep.
They just would not allow it nowadays. I just think, but it was brilliant. We played well again in the final that day. I think we obviously deserved to win. Kevin Gallagher, obviously, the big story was obviously his great grandfather was Patsy Gallagher from the Celtic team.
Patsy Gallagher, right? Yeah.
20s, was it 20s? Yeah. So he was obviously a legend of the club, and to be honest with you, everybody sort of just expected that one day he would sign for Celtic.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he went away to Coventry.
Sent to Coventry, quite literally.
Yeah. Well, he went to Coventry, and that was I'm trying to think when Coventry won the cup. No, that against
87.
87. So
FA Cup final. I'm a bit of an anorak on FA Cup finals, believe it or not. It's one of my special subjects.
Keith Houchin scored the winner, didn't he? Yeah. But so it was always kind of just expected that he would sign for Celtic, and he basically done. I think it was Aiken for pace, and to be fair, hit a cracking shot.
So he just lets it bounce and then just pings it right in the top corner, didn't he?
Yep. There was nobody stopping that. I mean, that was hit with some venom, shall we say, on the run.
Yeah.
But then after that, I felt that Celtic pretty much controlled the game and created the chances.
Yeah.
We've just been looking for it on some of my notes here. I did write down that Dundee United team, and just to let you see about some of the. But now, of course, can't find it. But they had some fantastic players. Although, having said that, when I thought Celtic was different. Eamon Bannon had 2 opportunities to just kill us.
Yeah.
And blew them both. One was a header from about 6 yards out, and the other one was a decent effort from just inside the box that I still think he should have done better with. But I remember saying to my mate at the game, said, if we get an equaliser, we'll win this.
Yeah. Just unexpected in that fashion, the way it came. It bounced around a bit like a pinball, didn't it, in the box before McAvenny finishes it. It's one of these, it's a stramash, again, going back to that word, a bit of a scramble. An Arthur Montford special, a stramash in the box, and it just comes to him eventually and he puts it in the net. But the bedlam in this, again, Celtic in the last minute goals, even to this day, we still see it at times with some of the moments of the last year, particularly Scottish Cup finals. Tom Rogic, who we talked about on Friday night, that magic, the Celtic are just never out of it until the full-time whistle goes. You just can't rule it against them, and they would not be denied that day. And I say the scenes, the bedlam, just the celebrations and stuff, it just looked phenomenal to be in amongst it. And I say plenty of people have said in the chat they were there as well, and they were at the Hearts game too, and on with yourself, Johnny. But it's just special moments, special memories, mate.
Oh yeah. I'll say right now, this season was my favourite season. If I lived to reach my own centenary, which I seriously fucking doubt, but I don't think I'll have a season like it again. I don't know, it's almost like the centenary year for me anyway, and I don't know some of the other guys on the chat who were fortunate enough to be there or old enough to be there when at the time, they might think this was almost our Lisbon, if you like. To be there and witness Celtic winning the cup double in a centenary year was a special time to be alive, if you like. If that's not being over dramatic about it.
No, I think so. It is, because it's also a time as well when obviously European football has become such a juggernaut now. Like the European trophies and the Champions League is such a thing. It's back in a time when winning the domestic double was just such an accolade. Scottish football at that point in time, so you look at that decade, you had Aberdeen beating Real Madrid in a European final. I think Dundee United beat Barcelona en route to a European final. Half of England's international team were coming up to play for Rangers. Okay, they'll pump lots of money in, and yeah, there was a loophole that, but they could have went to another country in the continent and played European football. Scottish football was, big at that point, and winning the domestic double was no mean feat, especially when you look at what Celtic were up against at the start of that season, coming with changing the manager, the amount of players they lost, who they brought in to replace them. And so you're up against that Rangers team, and the way they turned it around and the style that they did it, just again, it goes back to the whole, it's a fairy tale about this club. And as for speaking of quotes, though, I've also got it written down because people are talking about it in the chat. So obviously at the end of that game with Dundee United, there's a very famous interview which is it's lived long in the memory now. It's one of those immortalised moments. It's up there with when Bill Shankly said to Jock Stein, "John, you're immortal now." It's one of those ones. But obviously Tommy Burns is getting interviewed by Jim White on Scott Sport after the game, right after it on the park. And obviously Jim's asking him, Tommy, how does it feel? He's like, "Oh, Jim, I just want to say to my wife that I love her and the kids. And we John Paul Connor up in the hospital, I'll be up to see you on Monday. Just to let you know that I love you." And then he goes on about the accolade of winning it. And he's like, "Oh, Jim, you don't realise how much I wanted this. When people look back in 100 years, they'll see that I was part of the team that won the double." And then, of course, when Jim asks him, for these fans, what's it mean to them? And he just looks at him and goes, "That's what's so special about them, Jim. They're that right there is why they're so special. They're there. They're always there. And God bless every one of them." And that's the line. That's it right there. The immortal line from Tommy Burns. They're there. They're always there. And God bless every one of them. I say, just get on a t-shirt. It lives long in the memory, that one. And it just summed him up as well. See, again, he's talked about, in 100 years, when people look back on this, I'll be in that team. He's not even like, he's just like, we did it. And people will look back and see that. And, I was part of that, and I can, be proud of that. So again, it showed you how much it meant to him, to the boys that done it. And again, just proves that, Scottish football at that point was just, I say it was a big thing to do that. But yeah, special memories, Johnny. And Tommy Burns, what a guy. Again, another one, like, I don't know we mentioned him that much tonight until now, but another one where it's just like, what can you say about him?
Well, there's not much more you can say. I mean, he summed that up perfectly there, didn't he, in that interview? But Tommy Burns was along with the likes of Paul McStay, was Celtic. Obviously, McStay was as was Tommy, but McStay had his family connections as well with his brother Willie and Raymond. They were at Celtic as well. Obviously, never reached the same heights as Paul, but there was Paul's uncle, the McStays from the 50s, I think it was. So there was big Celtic connections between Celtic and the McStays. They were well interlinked.
I might say at one point in time there was three. There was Paul, William, and Raymond McStay were all on Celtic's books at the one time.
They were all on Celtic's books, but I think it was in the 50s. There was a McStay connection there as well.
I can't remember the first name. Somebody in the chat will come in and tell us, but you're right. There definitely is.
But for the likes of Tommy Burns, who'd come up through from a boy, supporting the team, supporting the club, playing for the team, coming through with Jock Stein as one of Jock Stein's last connections, if you like. So it was. We had players in that team who were born and bred Celtic supporters, and that made a big connection and made a big difference to us as supporters. Jimmy McStay, that's it. Yeah. So it was just, as Billy McLeod said, it was just a fairy tale. It was a dream come true. In fact, it was more than a dream come true. We wouldn't even dare dream about it at the start of the season. Being perfectly honest, and it was, as I said earlier on, it was only after the first game against Rangers where Billy Stark scored the winning goal. You start thinking, we just might have something on here, or at least a decent season. Yeah. And then by the time we beat them at Celtic Park in October, you start thinking, I'm really, really starting to believe this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all it takes. Just momentum is that magical thing in football.
After we beating them in January at Celtic Park, well, not beating them in October, drawing with them in October, and then beating them at January, you start thinking, I really believe this is in the bag. Now, what about the double? That's when you start with the double. This could actually be on. And before we knew it, we were on the slopes, Hampden Park, on a nice sunny day.
Oh, it looked very, very hot that day. Yes.
Yeah, it was. It was. There was a bit of warmth about the place, and I mean, I don't even know what the attendance was given for that game. If I just see if I can find it on here. But it was phenomenal. That's quarterfinals.
Aye, the thing is, well, again, another quote I seen probably was in that show. That was a team that was. I think it was like Mark McGee or somebody had said something. Like, one of the reasons why they feel the team themselves feel they were so successful was, again, just there was so many Celtic men in that team, just so many that are born and bred Celtic. The camaraderie between them, they knew what it meant. Again, I say the Centenary thing. It's 100 years. I say it might be another team that's done it since, but there was definitely a point in time where Celtic were the only team in association football all around the world who in their 100th year had won the domestic league and domestic cup. So, say if that's changed since then. But yeah, fair play if Celtic would have been the first to done it against. I know recently the Celtic the musical was out and they added a new song. Celtic did it first. Well, there's another one that Celtic did first. There's another one to add into it, unless maybe it's already in the song. But yeah, that's another one to add to it. But yeah, that kind of, we've covered everything that we want to do. Say Bustalgia these days, it's no longer that 2+ hour marathon. They're usually between an hour and a half. And funny enough, we're coming up on an hour and 13 minutes. We're somewhere in the middle of that. So that's kind of where I always wanted to be. But yeah, we've managed to cover it off. It's been a long time coming, Johnny, but we got there in the end. We actually got it done. Any other ones you've got in your mind that you want to ever cover at some point? Maybe in a year's time we'll do it.
Well, the year we won at St Mirren, when we clinched at St Mirren,
that's the 86 one. That's been requested.
Yeah. But what I would just say is what I would like to say to finish off the Centenary year is that after winning the cup and clinching the double, I really thought we're on the cusp of something here.
Yeah.
We're going to do something here. And it turned into a false dawn, didn't it?
Yes. This is the last real glory.
For the likes of our Judge Cairney, who's always gone on, this is, I think I was about 25, 26 at the time. And I think it really started to dawn on me then that this is the Celtic way. We go so far, we're going to kick on. No, we're not. Because you know what we've done, how we strengthened the team for the following year?
Was it not a goalkeeper? They brought in a goalkeeper.
We bought 2 players. We signed 2 players in the close season.
Is Ian Andrews one of them?
Ian Andrews is one of them.
Who's the other one?
The other one didn't cost us anything.
Oh, God. I don't know. I don't know who the other one is. I know Ian Andrews because Ian Andrews plays in the 5-1 game we lose to Rangers the next season. He doesn't play many games, but he played in that one.
He played too many.
Played too many.
The other one was Alan Ruff.
2 goalkeepers, and Alan Ruff would have been God knows what age at that point.
We brought him back, and I don't even know why we done it, to be fair. We brought him back, I think he was playing Orlando, something like that.
Out in the USA, right, yeah.
And we brought him back. Then later on in the season, we signed a young guy called Stephen McCall.
Right, okay.
For £100,000.
Jesus.
And then we sold Frank McAvenny in the March of '89 to West Ham. And did we spend that money to replace him?
People are saying Tommy Coyne, his name's coming up, so that would have been the replacement for Marc Cairney. But for what I remember, Tommy Coyne did pretty well for Celtic, but at a bad time he was playing for us.
He did, but it just goes to show that things don't change, eh?
Yeah, it's
we've been down this line many times before, but if you told me the day that I stood on those terraces at Hampden Park celebrating that double, that it would be 9 years before we won the league again,
scary. That is.
I'd never have believed it. I'm to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to pretend I know how many cups we won in between times. I'm willing to guess.
Between those 2 league titles, we won 2 Scottish Cups. We won a League Cup as well in the season. We won the league as well and stopped the 10. But 3 domestic trophies that whole time.
Wasn't the trophy-laden or successful period I was anticipating?
No.
The day after, when I woke up and was reading the Sunday papers about the glorious double that we'd just achieved.
Yeah. It just shows you don't take it for granted then. Nowadays, with the success we've got, you just don't know. We saw it with the failed attempt at the 10 in a row, how quickly it changed. So, yeah, always enjoy these days, folks. Always enjoy them. And, yeah, Johnny certainly did enjoy one. But, hey, the 86 season, that one might pop up in the near future. We can talk about Hearts' demise and Albert Kidd Day and stuff like that. That can definitely be on there. Because I say there's definitely been a viewer that keeps putting it in as a request, saying, Phil, we should do this one. And I'm like, right, okay, we'll try and get that one together. When me and Johnny's schedules can match up, we'll try and get that one sorted at some point. But
what we really need is somebody who was at Lisbon to come on and give us a Lisbon.
Yes, if anybody's been there was at Lisbon, can they come on and let us know? Yeah, that's what
tell us about your drive to Portugal.
Yes, indeed. Come on and tell us all about it. Then we can all just sit and listen to that one. But no, it's been fun hearing the stories, because it was all a bit of an education for me as well, because I was merely a 2-year-old kid at that point, so I have no recollection of any of this other than just watching archive footage these days to take it all in. But yeah, it sounded like a very special time. But yeah, folks, we will head off now. That's an hour and 17 we've done. So yeah. That wraps up this week. It's international break this weekend, so in terms of the schedule, it's going to be a bit sparse at the moment, because usually, like I do, the Friday feeling is to preview the game at the weekend. There is no game to preview. Although that being said, good luck to Scotland. I am a bit of a fair weather Scotland fan at the moment. They are playing pretty well. I don't fancy their chances much against Spain. I think Spain will probably rattle them, but that's tomorrow. But I believe Scotland have got 3 shots at it here, where they need to get a win somewhere in the last 3 games, or Norway need to lose. Now, Norway still need to play Spain in one of their fixtures, and Norway need to come to Hampden. So I would think Scotland will get over the line. Although, that being said, all the years I've watched Scotland, it would be the most Scotland thing ever for us to be in this position and somehow not qualify. But fingers crossed, that doesn't happen and they get the job done.
I've said it before that Scotland are masters at glorious failure.
Yes, they are. They actually are. They're the Eddie the Eagle of international football. They really are. They are very, very good at failure. But yes, we will head off now, folks. And yeah, we will catch you on the next one. See tomorrow, Thursday, TNF. Again, we're being, a quiet week. I'll speak to Russell and find out what's happening with that one. But either way, if you want to know if there's a show on and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. And remember, hit the bell. You'll be notified when there is a show coming up. Otherwise, we are out of here, folks, and we shall catch you later. See you, folks.